I've spoken about having a podcast and having guests on this podcast for years. And I am so blessed to be in this position right now where my first initial guest being a dear friend of mine, Josh, and it captures what we tend to speak about and how we tend to get excited and we elevate each other by just being on the same page, speaking about things that aren't accessible when you're looking at mainstream vessels. Now is the time where we have to express what we are feeling truly deep inside without censorship, without any filtration on the content. And to be able to sit here with my first guest, Josh, and do this is a blessing. I'm super grateful. I'm so happy with how the episode turned out. It was exactly as I expected it to turn out. And Josh is a overall professional parkour athlete, but mainly what I take from seeing Josh is a creative mover in a incredibly dexterous style. And the parkour group Storror, what they do every single Monday for me, I'm watching them videos every single Monday, and I have done for what feels like at least 10 years. And to see the growth, to see the improvement, to see them create amazing content, not just about the movement, the content creation, what they're doing as a group, what's happened since this year, how they've dealt with the adversity, how they've continued to commit to making these episodes that have kept me inspired. For one, they truly have kept me inspired. And just to be able to capture more what goes on in the minds of certain individuals, and particularly when you see Josh and you see how he moves and you get, an idea that something else is different there. This stylistic way of moving comes from his interesting creative way of how he sees things and understands things from the experiences that he goes through. So I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. All the links are in the description. The episode will really speak for itself. This is really just to give you a heads up of what this episode is, where this podcast is going, and the fact that I know there's some sound issues in this. Like, as it continues to go on, the sound isn't so clear on my behalf because I'm still working this setup out. I'm still figuring it out. And it is going to be exactly what it needs to be and starts exactly where it starts. But my mission and my desire is to continue to grow this, continue to build this, improve the production, improve the sound, improve the quality, and overall start to connect with beings, the family of light that understand truth from their own experience and don't take their information from external sources. I want to connect with all sorts of people. I'm currently really looking to try and get Aaron Walton on. These people are doing amazing things in the world, and it's not specified or capped to any individual particularly. Even yourself, if you feel like you're looking and seeking to have conversations that are more elevating, ascending, then get in touch. All the links will be in the description of this video. As I say, this episode will speak for itself, and I can only give you a heads up that the structure is going to improve. Everything's going to improve. I am the improvement guy. So enjoy it, like it, share it, do everything that you feel is right to support this podcast in itself and the work of both me and Josh. So have fun. And until next time.
Can be yourself fully.
Yeah, be myself, and also figure out how the mind really operates, like how the challenges are always there, and the fact that you go through this stage for ages saying one thing, this is what I need, as soon as I get this space, X, Y, and Z, and then you attain the thing, and if it isn't good enough or it hasn't met your expectations, I can see how that can screw people up. I can see how becoming really rich, wealthy, working your bollocks off your whole life to try and be happy, to then recognize, oh shit, this is all so false and very short.
Not real. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's as real as you make it to a degree, but then I feel like if you attach too much happiness into external things that aren't like, your family or like beings that you're with, then when that kind of, it's all going to go basically. It's not going to stay around for long. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be able to go with it when you die. So some element of self-discovery from the inside and working on yourself, you get to that realization that others make your reality. Do you know what I mean? You can't just do it all on your own. Like, you are the sum of the people you are around the most, in a way. So yeah, it all goes back down to other people, I think, and the service that you can provide to them. That kind of seems to be the ultimate truth. And then obviously your kind of mission should almost include that. How are you going to be able to give back to the people? And you doing this podcast or whatever, it's good because the mind over matter thing makes sense. It's an idea that people need to get hold of.
Matter over mind, that's the shift. It's the mind over matter, but really we need to escape the mind, get out the mind to recognize it's playing tricks on us most of the time, you know, like it's such a powerful tool. It's like, it's a tool that's created everything we enjoy and experience to this day. Like, it's amazing. It's responsible for some of the most powerful and great moments we have in life. But it's also, on the flip side, some of the worst, because we never really actually go through truthful, stressful situations unless you do what you do, for example, when you're literally at a death height. You're at a death height and you're playing with that. That's real shit. Everything else is often just floating around in our mind. It's our association or perception of what it is. And the key for me is to slip into the vessel of the experience that reality really is, to be in the body. When you're on those roofs, there's only one thing you can think about, and that's what the fuck you're doing, not what the fuck you think you're going to do. You've got to
be in the flow. That's the only way it can work, like, at a high level, I guess. You can kind of huck yourself at stuff, but then it comes to a level where you have to use precision, or, you know what I mean, like some kind of fortitude. But then when it comes to you to actually doing the movement, especially at that kind of height, then it's very much flow based. Like, it's very much being in the moment, being present, and it's that kind of meditative element that really relates to it. And you get kind of like an internal calm and peace of mind, because when you are doing something that's a high risk, or even not, it doesn't even have to be high risk, like, to execute it well, there has to be that silence, that inner calm. Like, I don't know, I feel like it's so similar to meditation. That's something I've been doing a lot more recently as well. I've really, since lockdown started, I've like really something I wanted to work on, and that's brought me a lot of clarity, but also I understand how it's similar, those states of, like, you know, high performance or flow, whatever, they're also interconnected throughout life. It's like you said, doing parkour is almost like a shortcut to get to that faster because the risk is higher, but you get that all throughout life, man.
Yeah, man, like, it's powerful how you're describing it, because I start to see the cycles, the patterns. We can see it everywhere, essentially, right? When that moment of intense focus of being, of only being that moment, creates the best results. You have to be up there. And meditation is a form of that. It's not thinking, it's being a witnesser, the aware, the consciousness. And fuck, that's what everyone is doing. Anyone that's at the top of their field doing something, it's because they can harness that. And if we can harness that outside of basically every moment we're given throughout the day, you know, with obviously the benefit of imagination. And me and you just spoke about that washing up story that you have. You wash up because it's so monotonous, so automated, subconscious. You can explore whatever the fuck you want to explore, which is a powerful thing of the mind. But really, it has to happen when we're either subconsciously doing something or fully conscious on what we are doing. And if we can harness that, bro, playing the guitar, whacking the sticks, cooking the food, everything is just, I'm just here. It's just this flow of this.
It makes everything enjoyable as well. That's a good thing. Like, from what you said, like, when you're in those states, you're not really thinking about, you're not caught up in the problems of life. You're just like so present, and then that gives you the happiness and the joy, and you just feel so good. Like, and I guess people are kind of chasing that state. Like, even if they're chasing it subconsciously, like, they feel like they wanted the money and stuff, and then it gets to that point where you realize that doesn't actually bring you happiness, presence, and enjoyment and gratitude, and all these kind of fundamental, what are they called? Fundamental principles. They're just kind of universal, and I feel like all these old, like, ancient cultures and stuff, and, you know, they've all kind of spoken about the same thing. And yeah, it's quite simple, really, but like difficult at the same time, because you've got the distraction of the world, the material around you, that's kind of like throwing you off sometimes.
Yeah,
like it's hard. It's a weird kind of juxtaposition, but like, it's so simple, but it's so difficult at the same time. It's weird.
Yeah, like the layers of it, as I I tend to see it as layers, right? An onion of, we know how far we can go with like infinite access to the dimensions that ain't governed by these physical laws. We can go and do whatever we want to do, visualize where we want to visualize. And we know we can do that. We can experience that as well through our imagination. But there's a layer of third dimension where it's like, it comes with challenges, tests, turmoils, hurdles that we have to endure to get the feedback to learn more about what the true self is.
Yeah, so true. It's like a slow burner. So it's like you have these moments of flow or whatever, like, and the peak enjoyment when you've like put in the work to learn the skills. And then the fruits of that labor is to get like autotelic. So it's like the actions that you're doing, they're not easy, but like you've become so honed in the skill that like you get those moments of clarity. But then they don't last forever, like unless you're some kind of crazy enlightened being. Like you have to go back to the drawing board again. You reschedule, you reshuffle. Sorry, you put yourself in certain situations, and then that comes out again. So I think it's like you said, it's kind of like a snakes and ladders of work. I don't know. Cool though.
Yeah, infinite, right? Like I heard there's a guy I take a lot of stuff from. I stumbled across him in the last couple of years. His name's Matthias de Stefano, and when he was younger, like would always see beings and see other forms of life, and he had vivid dreams and memories of past lives. He started remembering all his past lives, and he got given all this ancient wisdom information. And he described through this series he has on Gaia, he described my life down to a T, brother. It was so powerful. It was like, oh shit. And it sort of put the nail in the coffin for me, where I recognized, oh, this is actually what it is. There's always going to be the same emotions of frustration and challenge when you are a seeker of growth, when you're looking to grow and expand as a human being. That comes as a result. When we look at kind of like the spiritual, as you say, the enlightened spiritual beings, like we are enlightenment. I see it as just increasing the frequency of light we are enlightenment, but holding that state of presence and focus. I mean, it's possible, but you, me, people that live in like the UK, these cultures, aren't sitting in a Buddhist garden with no concern about what's going on in the world, doing that all day. People that dedicate obviously live in a state of probably astral realm most of the time, just complete astral, like going through the experiences of what they're going through, but they can harness that all day. They make perfect Buddhist gardens. What me and you are doing are going through what the fuck's going on right now in the UK. There's a crazy world going on. It gives us the opportunity to...
It's hard to go past that distraction, because there's so many things going on. You're bombarded with these technologies, and you've got a smartphone. But like you said, someone who is like just in a Buddhist temple, they've kind of almost relinquished that. Like people who are there now, if they've not kind of grown into it, been born into it, you've got some people from like a more westernized viewpoint, and they've been like, fuck it, I'm gonna go and live in some monastery or go on a retreat for like months or years or whatever, and they just stay in the temple. Like you said, they're more likely to be able to reach this level of attainment where they can continuously maintain this. But then this experience seems to be something that at its present time, for me anyway, it's something that you catch a glimpse of and then you go back again. But I mean, I guess it's possible to achieve that, but if you're kind of like, you're out of the way, and like you said, there's so much stuff going on at the moment that it's hard not to be stressed or to get worried about it. But I guess you got to assess what's in your control as well. Like there's a lot of things that you can't necessarily have specific control of, like this situation. Like all you can do is control your response to it. I guess.
And a mad thing I've been learning lately is syncretism, right? It links up everything. It links up astrology. You was the first person to word drop the word fractal to me.
Yeah.
And you've experienced a fractal-like systems through psychedelic use, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this fractal understanding that I have is like the pattern and makeup of our reality, of what we call like universe, is repeating itself over and over again in infinite subjective ways. And one of the manifestations of that is like us, right? What we're going through, and human beings. We're the only thing, we're the only species and being, living thing on the planet that goes against our innate nature. And there's one reason as to why. It's because we have this special type of brain that these other mammals don't have.
The neocortex, right?
This
That, yeah.
probably that's the center of it, but it's more what we grow up in. We've now grown up in these environments that are completely what are unnatural, right? Supposedly unnatural, but what it definitely does do is, and we just have to look at the one we've grown up in. All of our innate ancient skills and wisdom, it's like, oh, they're not there. We don't know what this is. We don't have these questions. Learn about fucking Henry VIII and, 1 + 1 is 2. Like all these basic level concepts and the world of information we've been exposed to. We understand now that that's not true at all. There's fucking wisdom everywhere. We actually know the answers to this stuff, but it's suppressed. It's like this has been taken from us, this right. And people that have been more connected to their intuition and their spiritual or soul self, whatever people feel comfortable calling it, didn't need the access. They knew it inside themselves. They had the knowing. They could see it out there in the world. We can understand truth. But now there's a pivotal moment happening because we are a fractal system of where we are in the stars, bro, where we're at this time leading up to the 21st of December. It's a very significant period. That is always coded to manifest something. It's just manifesting as this COVID. It's manifesting as this basically spiritual war on taking people's consciousness so they don't have their own perceptions, live in this false reality. And we're now pivoting to a point where, and this is my fundamental belief, is that's not going to happen. We can't get taken into this because it only works through conformity and compliance. And one thing you can't take yet is someone's soul. They'll always connect back to that. And as we start to increase these numbers of people that are recognizing the truth, people that are standing up for their businesses and recognize their rights, exercising back to our roots of common law and realizing the fraud that's happened across the world with birth certificates, this is all coming into people's hard drives now. That shifts everything. We don't need to expect anything from these so-called leaders. When we change who we are and we grow into who we're supposed to be, the result and consequences of our energy and behavior prevents all that shit from happening. It still will in the form of, polarity, but fuck, bro, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be super powerful. We are going to have peace on earth because people are going to find more peace in themselves. But it has to get really bad. But think of our own lives. Tell me an example you have of where it took you fucking ages, the last resort to go, I am so done with this, and then make the change. That's what we tend to do, right? We tend to go, fuck me, I've done this 100 times, I made this mistake 100 times, this keeps coming up, I'm really fucking this up. That's what kind of needs to happen in the world. We need to keep...
it's there for growth. Like growth will happen like at the point where you're out of your comfort zone, I guess, and we're at a point where so much is happening and so much is changing. It's almost like it's going to happen regardless, really. Like, and like I'm not exactly sure what's going on because there's so many different angles, there's so many different opinions, there's so much logic, and there's so many plausible points that people have out there, and like it just seems like some people are trying to suppress certain information, and like they're trying to change the narrative to shift the narrative towards a specific idea, even though a lot of the evidence and the clues are showing something else. And that's kind of what I've been thinking. It seems like they've either kind of exaggerated statistics or they've, tried to slap COVID on the death of loads of people. And it seems like they're utilizing the opportunity as a control mechanism for the people. And like, it's quite weird. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess, it's a point of growth, regardless. Like you said, like it's a point of some kind of transience, some kind of elevation that needs to happen because the current system and the way things are, this kind of like capitalist monopoly seems to be like, it doesn't work for the people, like some people are getting fucked over while some people are just leeching everything from the other people. And it's like, some people will argue, oh, we're smart and we deserve to be there because we've like played the system. But it's like, I don't think it should be that way because people who are like in a different situation are going to get frustrated, they're going to get angry, and eventually that's going to kind of cause some kind of rebellion or something. But it seems like we're shifting to like a connectedness, right? But I also feel like that could be used against us because they see that people are going together and they're like, oh, we need to unite people under one rule, one government. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, this idea that's been going around for a long time. I'm not sure of the validity of it, but like it seems like they're trying to move to this more like socialist kind of neo-communist way, which like when you live in a council house, for example, it's like a lot of your expenses and stuff are paid for by the government, but they a lot of the time they decide those standards. Do you know what I mean? So it's like imagine if everyone's kind of in this, you know, state-owned situation where at first it seems really good, but then they're like, actually, we're not going to give you this, or oh, now you guys have to leave there. You know what I mean? It's like that's not fair, man. Like I feel like that could also be used against us. So we've kind of got to figure out a system that's like still democratic. You know, it's not just like a dictatorship where like some character or some party just has rule over everyone, and then you know, it's, oh, it's fair. It is like it's communism pretty much. Like, but I don't know. And also, I do think there's something spiritual going on as well, like some kind of raising of vibration, or people are starting to wake up to what the system is and how it's not fair for them, and it's almost set up for them to fail. Do you know what I mean? To keep them under this illusion. And now it seems like a lot of people are waking up. It seems like the internet has been the biggest progression, but almost the biggest hindrance in a way, because it's like if you can't control all that flow of information. Like one thing that illustrated it for me is like technology does have some great benefits, because like there's one video of like these cow farms basically, right? These really harsh conditions where these cows are living and they're really cramped up and it's like they've got no room to stand, right? And it's like a drone shot where it's like you see that one cow and it zooms out and you see this whole field of cows, and it's a perfect example of how like that amount of connection and that amount of ease you have to do something opens up a whole nother can of worms for spreading of information. But now it seems like the government or whoever's running the show is like, we've now got control of the flow of information on the internet. We've got to put out a lot of disinformation, a lot of muddy in the waters here and there, and you know, spread this, spread that, so no one fully knows the truth. And it seems like it's almost like a psychological warfare operation against the people's minds, you know, and they're being so manipulated and so sucked down this polarized hole of death pretty much, where like I don't know, it's just weird.
Yeah, bro, what you're saying is beautifully describing it, because we all know, we're all connected to the same consciousness. We all kind of have the same thoughts, kind of at the same day sometimes. Like, there's some crazy shit out there that always proves this, not only to mention if you're connected to this, you get this with your own group, circle all the time. Me and Sam always right. The same shit.
Same shit at the same time. Yeah, so weird.
We can have conversations like in this other dimension. Like, look at what's happened in our culture. Any of this stuff that isn't classed as normal, which is the fundamental anchor of what sucks us away from our fucking wisdom. This idea of normal is not normal. Like, what is normal is the fact is nothing is actually physical. What they call paranormal is the normality. Is no, we are psychic. It's not how you see in films like, oh, you're reading my mind. It's not exaggerated like that. It's intuition, seeds that come to us, thoughts when we are healthy and we are connected. Because if we're exposing ourselves to unhealthy information, and we can not have to speculate here. Unhealthy is what makes you feel bad, what makes you feel scared. That's all lack of health. Healthy is heal thy. We have to heal ourselves, and to do that, we have to increase our frequency. And it doesn't happen in this monotone culture of, and today's news, when I see more people dying, and it doesn't work, bro. And we know now we can simplify, because simplification is success. And when we want the success for something, it has to be simple. And the simplicity is, we all know, most of us and a lot of us are not connected. But we know deep down inside ourselves what the truth is. And here, like a massive shining light at the end of this tunnel, as you described it, right? There's a light here. And the light is the fact we are seeing this is going to juxtapose, but we are seeing the most historic level of Stockholm syndrome, of stupidity, of ignorance, of absolute insanity. By definition, I really pick my words carefully, like, this is insanity. We're seeing that, but what's going to happen in the juxtaposition is we're going to recognize, I think, like kind of overnight, that we haven't given our species a chance. This is why we're acting like this. All of our gifts and our abilities and our positivity and our frequency of love, it's been taken from us. We wasn't shown this in school. Our parents didn't know this. We've all lost the connection to these abilities, and they're coming back. We are, bruv. We are the same philosophers back in time. Just it's the grid reincarnated into these new versions. Like Plato, philosophers, all these guys that understood truth was all the same thing. It is all the same thing. It's just communicators of it, different perspectives and subjects expressing it. But we're all starting to learn that now. And then the faith is the fact that most of us are very compassionate, empathetic beings. We care about people. If someone falls over, like we care. Like it's real. We have that compassion. The real people that also have hidden this information from us, because there is a family, there's bloodlines. They've been doing this for generations. They aren't the same as us. They don't have that empathy. These are like the sort of kids that you would see fuck up bugs in school. It's like that, but times 1,000. They do crazy shit, and I won't speak it in these videos now because it lowers the frequency, but it's all out there for us to learn. And they don't do this.
All that stuff. It's not right. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, but yeah, I feel
not like us. They ain't like us, bro. They're different. They are a different fucking entity. And the problem is they've manipulated through power structures, as you were just describing. They've manipulated this in levels of power and hierarchy where the people that are doing it aren't aware. This is the key point. They don't realize. They think this is what the world is. Look at them all. None of them are spiritually connected. These politicians, like none of them have any idea of health, of actually vibrancy, of authenticity, of empathy, because they call it education. I call it conditioning. They've been conditioned to act this way, but it's crumbling now because this is spiritual awakening. There's kind of an increase in emotional intelligence. We can see through it. We go back to the news and go, oh, they're U-turning again. Oh, they're using this fear-mongering Hollywood tactics. Fuck all this shit. I know this.
It's obvious to see it. Yeah, it's like you can see the strategy being employed. It's almost like a clickbait. Like if you downscale it, it's like a clickbait title with like a clickbait photo or headline to grab you with these specific keywords or buzzwords that make you feel something. But when you actually read the small print, it's not what they're trying to tell you. It's almost like when you watch that film, The Wizard of Oz, and right at the end, there's that guy, like the wizard or whatever. He's some big guy, and he's this fucking projector, like screaming at you. Then you go behind the projector, and there's just nothing. It's just some tiny little guy, like, what's that? It's been upgraded.
That was automated. I didn't even see that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you go behind the projector, and it's just some small little guy. It's like it makes you feel like I don't know. I feel like I don't even know what's going with that actually. I think I just messed up my whole train of thought. I'm a bit too high right now.
Soak it in, brother. We got time. Like this is an important, very important conversation.
No, it's super interesting what you're saying. No, I fully understand. It's like there definitely seems to be some paradigm shift, or like I don't know what it would have been that actually like unlocked people, but it seemed like there was loads of drops. That's kind of what it seemed like happened. It seemed like during the first lockdown, there was so much information that got leaked almost, you know what I mean? Like people kept like, obviously, you know, the control of information is like quite a big thing, but it seemed like there was loads of like things being leaked about like the elites and this kind of stuff. And people kind of took notice. It seemed like for the first time, like people actually like the common guy was just like, yo, you heard about this like thing? And I was like, wait, you know about that? Like, how the hell did you find out about that? And it seems like someone was like pressing the key, or it seemed like someone sparked like a, kind of almost push the snowball off the hill. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it seemed like someone or something, maybe it's just truth, like love. I don't know what it is, but something happened where this information kind of free dived, and then like, yeah, carrying down the road, like, yeah, you heard about this? I'm like, bro, like, that's pretty intense. Yeah, I fully agree with what you're saying, man. Like, I don't know, I just feel like it's kind of weird that Joe Biden became the president. Because
see, that's the thing. This is the thing, bro. This is beautiful because we need the craziest shit to happen for us to really go, fuck this, what's going on? And it isn't official yet. It's not media influence. Like, this is actually criminal, and like what they're doing, and it's for an agenda, and this is the beautiful thing. Because the plan of what it will happen in what I will call the prophecy makes more sense for Trump to do it. But it isn't about Trump. It's about a catalyst that forces people to change. And when everyone celebrated that this Biden fella got in, no, like the truth or information will come out of what this guy does, who this guy actually is, and they're kind of circles.
He seems messed up. Like, do you know what I mean? All you got to do is just like look into him a bit, and just hearing some of the things that he's done and the way he acts, it's just like, it doesn't seem right. Like you said, when you can feel inside of you when someone's not altogether there, or they've got something about their energy or something that's a bit off about them. And when you see this guy, well, most of these politicians, they don't seem healthy. They don't seem. One thing I thought, it's almost like Looney Tunes. Like, how is it that like the two best guys you've got is Trump and Biden? They're both like pushing over 60. I'm not saying old people can't have wisdom and they've got good ideas and stuff, but like, you would kind of think that they've got some, ideas from younger blood, or people who are going to have just more meaningful strategies. They're going to have a way to communicate with the youth, and like just people in general. But it seems like these two people just are like, is that the best America has? Like, is that the best they've got? Just two old guys like who are just like, one's pretty much looks like a pedo, and one's a misogynistic guy like who's a bit quite egotistical. Is that the pinnacle of American politics, or just politics in general? Like, are those the main guys, the head honchos? Like, what is that all about? Like, that in itself shows that it's just a theatre.
Yeah.
The biggest polarities of like these really bold, huge, kind of crazy, outlandish, almost clown-like characters are what are leading the free world, or a whole country, and being in charge of its decisions and how it goes forwards, and its spending, its budgets, and the care of all the people. Like, doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem right. It seems like it's almost a covert way to dumb people down, like to like, show them that their future, their ideals is just based upon junk. Like, I don't know. It just seems weird.
Yeah, bro. It's so clear now. Like, the transparency is fake, and like what I'm hopeful for is that this is what I think will happen, and it will manifest in this way. Is we've had this happen for ages in cycles, and people don't necessarily recognize the cycle and patterns. It never makes a difference because it is rigged. Like, these people, they're not running anything, but because we're all, anyone that's old enough to be alive now, we can fairly say that they're underneath 100. The setup and the control of these systems have been happening for over 100 years. They've been happening for thousands, slowly, bit by bit, dictating people's perceptions, dictating reality, so people have this disempowered feeling, pulls their connection away from themselves, which is the real power we all have inside ourselves. When we're pulled away from that, we're empty, we're fearful, we look for leadership, we have to look for answers, and they always present the answers, right? The so-called answers. It's because they've rigged the system to make us think we need answers. When we get back in touch with ourselves, we go, oh, well, they're not doing anything but fucking up everything and taking everything. And it's happening through ignorance. It's happening through manipulation on very, very sinister, deep levels. So when we get told our true history, when we recognize the true power of the people, because the system, as to say, like how everything runs, corporation, that's not necessarily bad. It works, it operates. But it runs by the energy of living men and living women. It runs by the energy and time us living beings give to the system. So it's not them or government. It's always us. It's always us. It's the nurses in the hospital. It's the police in the police force. It's the people that do, when I get my shopping delivered to my door. It's the real people. It's us. We don't need these people. But what we do need is, in every single one of those people, a light bulb to go off for us to connect and recognize our power. The answers will show up because we'll feel large and connected in numbers, where we go, oh, it's us. And leaders will recognize these charlatans. They're fucking up everything. They're responsible for the suffering in terms of catalysts, but it's only ever going to work if people just go along and they don't take back their power.
I feel it's too polarized as well. Like, the whole system is too polarized. You've got like left versus right, black versus white. It's like those two ideologies are almost doomed to fail, because if you go too far in any one direction, I don't think it really works. You got to be centralized, balanced, like allow for, you know what I mean, that whole idea of being formless, being water, you know what I mean, like taking different forms, different shapes. Like, that's humans are almost like speak to that, because they're very malleable in the way they are, like neuroplastic, or you can change, you can adapt. That's what's made the human organism so good in the first place, that it can adapt to the change, right? And it can like almost carve its own path and like change its brain, change its mind, and do all this crazy stuff. So having a system that is built on, this or that, it's just basic. Like it's not going to work, like, because one glove doesn't fit everyone. And going back to that whole reference you made to the system, and how education system as one is, it almost is one glove for one type of character they want to mold. They want to shape this one piece of clay, or one puzzle piece, but there's all these other variations or other variants of puzzle pieces out there. And although like it almost seems like when you do meditation or all these things, or you go into this flow, you get into this peak state, you are connecting back into the cloud of everything, like the Tao, whatever you want to call it. But there is still this like unique nodeness that you have for yourself as well, I think. Like, so having these political systems that are based on this or that, I just don't think it's going to work. Like, I don't know how. The thing is, there's also a problem as well. Like you said, there is still some order that needs to be maintained, right? So the difficult kind of decision that someone who's in charge has to make, or like not someone, the people have to make, is how this system is governed. Do you know what I mean? Like, because if you get someone like Donald Trump in there, it's more, for me, for him, and just do your own thing, kind of do it like more like not looking out for the common person, just like I'm taking it for myself. But then you've got someone like Joe Biden who's like, we're all doing it together, and it's like it's not really a big family. It's almost like it'll be more like a dictatorship where like you guys do what we say, you're all the same, but we're doing our own thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I don't think both of those ideologies can work. It need, like you said, like you're saying, with this, energy rise or frequency gain, something new needs to be formed. But at this present moment, I don't know. I'm not sure I can figure out the idea, because it's kind of been going around in my head. It's like, what could be more of a democratic and fair way to run things where everyone has a say, everyone's say is counted? I reckon that needs kind of an AI or something, like something that can tend to everyone at the same time and make fair decisions. Because I don't know, it seems like when you give someone responsibility, that one person, unless they're like a pure soul, like Jesus, or you're some kind of Christ consciousness figure, you get tainted by reality. And that is kind of seen in modern day politics. You give one person this power, then a lot of the time they get corrupted. You know what I mean? They get complacent, they get this, they get late, you know what I mean? And they get comfortable. Or maybe by the other hand, you work to that level of being a political person just because you're selfish and because you want that power over other people. So maybe it's two classes. You've got some people who go into it with a pure heart, then they get tainted. But then you've got some people who go into it tainted already and they want to fuck shit up. So I don't know. It's like, it's very weird. It's like such a weird time. And to be able to like predict and to like figure out what's going to happen next is quite difficult, because I think it could kind of go in, it's almost like this at the moment.
Right, I could call it.
What do you think? What do you think?
Look, tell me this. Would you object if I said you were Jesus?
Of course, yeah, I know what you mean. Christ consciousness, come on. Like,
Yeah.
I know that if you get to this not level of awakening, but like if you get back to this source, you are a neuron in the mind of God. Do you know what I mean? It's like you are a piece of the whole. Like it's like the whole idea of like
I like that.
fractal ideology or idea. If you've got like the tree. Imagine the tree is everything. You take one of those seeds. That seed has got all the information it needs to create another tree. Do you know what I mean? So it's like all those answers are in there within you, and it takes for you to kind of look inside. Sometimes that's a good way to do it, I think, and to sit with yourself. Then you go back to that feeling of everything, and you go back into that higher awareness, and you come back in with kind of like new insights and new ways to be around the world. And you kind of realize that when you go more into this kind of not dead zone, but you're logged off, basically, you kind of come back realizing that connection with people is good. And, I do want to look out for people. I do want to help people out. I do like talking to people. I am emotionally connected. These things are like almost unwritten principles that are just in everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, that just shows that we are all connected, and we have come from this kind of, I feel like original source. I don't know, it just feels like it, right? I don't know, maybe we're just delusional, but I don't know. It seems like it's right.
How much have you looked into syncretism?
I think not much really. All I could really think of is a lot of my own kind of not assumptions, but like ideas on it. And I do think there is all these interconnected things, and like it's almost like you kind of, I'm trying to find the right word, like it's a web of connection basically. That's what it is. It seems like there's all these nodes, all these points, and everything kind of just is in everything because everything came from that one thing originally. So you are going to be, I feel like with the syncretism or synchronicities in general, it's like you can find a connection in everything because everything's connected, but then there is not a madness to that, but like there's a hard way to navigate normal reality with that mindset. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like you can go into these coincidences so much that then you could be like, well, look, this is that, and then, you know what I mean, this is connected to that, and then like, of course they are because they're from one thing. It's like all you're doing pretty much is just doing maths. It's like, cool. You know what I mean? I don't know. You can go into it to a deep level.
You can live with like too much of a strong or opaque filter over your actual experience of, don't take it seriously, play. You know, like I always like to say, ancient culture, modern lifestyle. Like, let me get back to the roots, but let me fucking enjoy material of what this world is. Like, I wanna fuck, I wanna have fun, I wanna eat good food, I wanna smoke weed. Like, this is what I wanna do. I wanna have a good experience as a living man. So, because I'm going back to the promised land. So I'm going there anyway. I don't want to keep spending my time being there whilst I'm here having this human experience. So let me fucking take advantage of that. But there's a guy, bruv, I'll send you some links, but there's a guy called Santos Bonacci. And he links everything up, bruv, in such a beautiful, articulate way of the fact, you know, the 7 systems and the 7 chakras inside us and the 7 planets of the universe, right? The Zeus, the Greek god, Jesus, the Son of God, the Sun is God. You know, like look at all the things we've been told as well. I'm not going to be able to describe this.
No, I've heard that before. Yeah, I know what you mean. How astrology is very much connected to all these religions, right?
We are that. We are astrology. That's the key thing. We actually are that. The 7 planets represent 7 portals of light, like beings of light, like the 7 chakras. The text of what the Bible and everything really is, if you could decode it, is the breakdown of sound and light. It's not personified. There is no people. It's being used as people and parables to describe it to only the wise that can understand it.
Interpret the information.
Bro, because imagine trying to describe infiniteness. You can't. You can't describe infinite. You have to describe it in symbols. And this is why we dream in like visuals, right? We dream in experiences because it's not going to say to you, you need to slow down in your life and get rid of this fear. It's going to give you a manifestation of something you're scared and fearful of because you're rushing all the time. Like it's going to symbolize it, but we often don't get taught the skills how to translate it. But I
guess like we're so stuck in physical.
We're in the same grid of time. And what I was going to say was like, you say, I don't know what's going to happen. We know the significant events that have gone back in history. You know, like the Mayans predicted these calculators. How do they predict it? It's because we are always going to be the manifestation of the frequency and stage and position we are in this galaxy system, whatever this is. We're always going to be that. But how it manifests is no one actually knows. We don't actually know how it manifests, but we know significant events going to happen here, and this is what it's going to mean. It's going to mean a more dark, challenging time. We're moving into Aquarius. It's a more of a positive, rebirthing time. It's powerful. Like, do you have the experience? Because, bro, this has been my life. My life has been, I speak something, I call it, I'm saying I'm going to do this, I'm going to do Y, I'm going to do X. And then it happens, but it happens in this other crazy way I never really predicted. I predicted that happen.
Yeah, are you an Aquarius as well? I'm Aquarius. Are you an Aquarius?
I'm a Leo, bro. But where we're in the universe is the Aquarius season. We're moving into that.
I'm an Aquarius, so lucky me. I'm joking. Lucky everyone.
Well, everything in movies has been there to teach us. Like, I've been having crazy moments in here, by the way, taking this amazing oil that I make, this fucking cannabis oil that really connects us, gets us out of all this bullshit that's happening right now. It's amazing. It's such a most powerful healing tool. And when we use it correctly, it can elevate everything for us. Because if our consciousness is higher, all our behavior is. And what I've been doing lately, bro, is really getting rid of any sort of plateaus in my mind. I'm really picturing myself as Wolverine. It's like healing. I'm healing, amplifying.
Yeah.
Bro, the placebo effect is studied in a way of how do we predict this thing to be wrong? How can we prove this thing wrong? Meaning, I believe and conceive I'm going to get better, so I do. Or I believe and conceive I'm going to have effect, so I do. That's the power of the mind, and we don't spend the time actually trying to understand why. We try to disprove it. That's the fundamental paradoxical flaw in our current culture and society, that we don't have faith and belief because we class it with our firewalls of conspiracy or hippie or all that spiritual shit. Like, people just block away their innate abilities. They don't allow them to connect because judgment has come from our culture. This is what it's really about.
Yeah, it's been portrayed in a way that kind of almost takes you away from it. It's almost like we're moving. It's a weird time because I guess what it would need is a merger of spirituality and science. It seems like there needs to be some kind of marriage between the two, because people are so held up by the ideas of the physical universe, what they can see, taste, and touch in these five senses. But like, I was listening to a podcast of a guy called Paul Check on it. He's fucking really interesting character, and he, strong dude, and like he has quite alternative views. But it seems like he's kind of gone so deep into the physical that it's actually allowed him to transcend out, and he's come up with some quite interesting ideas. And he's obviously based it on what he's heard and a lot of research and stuff. But he's saying that pretty much 99.999% of the world is like, it's holographic. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's empty space, right? But that empty space is just space we haven't been able to perceive yet. Do you know what I mean? It's probably just like moving and vibrating and kind of going or oscillating and doing whatever it does faster than the speed of light. So it's like, how do you detect that? You can't. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's energy that we have access to. Say again?
At least not by the limitations of our body and our human.
Exactly, yeah, with this physical realm. So a lot of people discredit it because they can't, gauge it with the five senses, and it takes that internal work to get to that feeling, right? But most of our experience is just trying to take us away from that. Do you know what I mean? It's like what you can watch on TV, or who you're speaking to, or where you're going, or what your smartphone's telling you. It's like those abilities are probably being lost because your ideal of the physical is so much stronger. And also the internet is almost like the technological manifestation of that cloud. Do you know what I mean? It's like we've got a natural version, and then the internet is becoming the physical version, the physical kind of not version. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because we are the fractal, we are creating the next version of, all we can do is express what the originals expressed to us, that creation, right? So all these things that we've got around us, like the laptop or this and that, it's all the inner manifestations of someone's thoughts that obviously come from that whole, right? But if you think about it, we're just externalizing the next version of that growth through our physical means to create this next, maybe technologically spiritual realm, which is the internet, which is, I don't know, all this stuff. It's weird. It's like,
and where we are on the scale, brothers. I love how you just described it, because very few people see it in that way. It's like, yeah, you can see it everywhere. We are recreating the nature of our reality through ourselves and our species. Like,
sure, yeah.
We're getting super close to having.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're trying it. It's getting there.
Yeah, man. Right? There's a lot that's been oppressed and suppressed. There's crazy technology out there, but in the current paradigm of what we think we have access to, it's like whatever the latest Oculus Rift is, we're there, but it's like, what do we actually have out there? Because we've got physical so-called technologies, and then we have spiritual technologies. Fucking smoke some DMT, do a batch of mushrooms.
Yeah, cool. It's also weird though how what this is getting. Paul Check was mentioning this. Credits to Paul Check. He was talking about how like frequency pretty much governs our lives anywhere at the moment. We're using Wi-Fi, using radio frequency. Like, for example, you've got a remote control car, right? That is just some like physical object, but on there you've got the little antenna, right? But what's actually controlling that? Obviously, you're remotely controlling it, but it's the frequency that's coming out of that control, going into the control there and allowing the vehicle to move. But you can't flip and see it. You can't. Another way he said to encapsulate it is like, you get a dog whistle, you whistle to the dog, you can't hear it, but the dog comes. You know what I mean? It's like it's got access to a higher frequency in the form of sound. You know what I mean? it can perceive something you can't. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just something that you can't hear, you can't see, and until you get onto that other level, you transcend your physical body, and you maybe go to this, astral or dream or kind of different realm that is almost vibrating at a higher rate of frequency. That is just not physical. It's higher. And then, like you said, DMT and all these experiences, it seems like when you have these substances, you break that barrier. It's like your mind almost deconstructs, well, not even your mind, your soul, whatever it is, deconstructs reality, and you're able to transcend and go to these other places. You're more connected to the source. It's like part of you gets higher, not higher, but maybe higher. Part of you gets close to the source, and then you have more abilities in that kind of realm. It kind of feels like, especially with microdoses, I'd say. But with like a macrodose, it's kind of more like you're just airdrop somewhere, and you're like, oh, what's going on here? It's kind of like a drastic change. It's almost like the dial's been turned up high, and you're like, whoa, kind of like, what's going on a bit more? And I guess people who've had lots of experiences and they've kind of gained composure in that realm, they've been able to take back knowledge with them and experiences. It seems like there's some kind of coherence to it. It's not just all airy fairy randomness. And I guess it takes for you to have the curiosity and the open-mindedness to be able to look outside of the scaffolding that's around us and just take a look. Why not? It's fun, right? Like, and you might then find something that might change your current paradigm, because I feel like it's good to be flexible and malleable, and obviously as your morals allow it, like to be able to see different things, try different things, and to experience life in a different way, because that's what gives you, that enriches you, I guess. Like, in this physical world, the more experience you get, I don't know, it just feels good. Like, obviously the positive experiences, like sometimes the negative ones as well, though, they give you fuel to be able to push yourself harder. So yeah, I don't know. I really agree though with what you're saying.
Yeah, I love how like it can't be denied. Like really, it's always like the language is what it is. So I can't describe it in any other way. But it's the truth. It's the reality of the truth, which is essentially an experience. Like it's a truthful experience because it makes us feel something. And I love the idea that we are pure, we are whole, we are connected. But it's the limitations and the burdens, traumas, all the stuff that sort of blocks it. It adds all this mud and clay around this chiseled statue. It's this mud and clay that kind of blocks us from actually recognizing what we really are. So the use of some form of a psychedelic will help strip all that clay and mud away to get back to true source, which is why it's hard, because people go, oh, what, I'm not that person that works in St. Weekend Bomb and has this crazy experience. It's like, no, you're not. And that's a good thing. This is an amazing thing, but we've got to get comfortable in these other worlds, get familiar. Like I've told you this loads of times, I had lucid dreams all the time growing up, exploring this dream world, and not understanding any different, going, oh yeah, this is the world, there's all these other dimensions here. But now being able to articulate it, communicate and express it in a way where it's truthfully an understanding what most people don't have. It's always a paradox, it's always an inversion. It's like what we need to do less of to gain more, what we need to let go of to go further. Like we don't need to keep adding stuff to build and grow. No, we need to lose shit and allow our body to express itself how it wants to, authentically, honestly. Really get into that state of flow and meditation, because it's just the experience that matters. Growth comes from the experience and repetition, of course, but novelty is key. Right? If you only stood in one spot and did the same precision, you'd be sick. You'd be fucking unreal. You'd be the stickiest, quietest injury sticker. But then you'd be shit at all the other spots. You'd be like, oh, I'm not quite experienced here. What broadens us is novelty, constantly exploring new stuff, novelty. And psychedelics, again, another tool to strip all this monotony back and go, this is what you are, and this is what you're being shown right now for where you are. And the feedback can't be explained.
Light, yeah. It can make you look at things in a new light, I guess. And like I feel like it's a very it's an interesting tool. I feel like it comes with its own set of risks and dangers, and I feel like doing it in the right circumstances and in the right way is crucial, because it's almost like when you do something like that, especially like macrodose, microdose, whatever it is, your brain is like clay, isn't it? Like you said it's clay, and when you do this kind of stuff, it makes you more neuroplastic. So your the ability for your brain to change is a lot higher in those kind of states. So if you want to kind of almost program your subconscious, program your brain in the right way, the things that you do and the things that you kind of show yourself in those states should be like positive or towards what you want to do, or you know what I mean, because it can almost change the clay back, but it can change it back worse. You know what I mean? So it's like people say, "I'll do psychedelics, do all this stuff," but I feel like it comes with a set of big risks. Because if you're just doing mushrooms and then sitting on Instagram, or like you do like a microdose and you're just scrolling for Instagram all day, then what are you programming yourself to do? Scroll through Instagram. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like
who's
like
out there popping mushrooms, flicking through their feet? Because it's so honest that, like, yeah, this is a good point. I'm glad you brought it up because it allows a parameter now. It's like the environment, setting, intention, all that is so important because people do have these experiences. They go to Amsterdam, they get fucked up, they go and do whatever they do in Amsterdam, you know, and then they do mushrooms. One of the most powerful spiritual connecting tools, and you're doing mushrooms there. Like, most people are not going to have a good experience when you're fucking walking around Amsterdam. You need to be comfortable. It'd be convenient to have a sitter there to go, your body is fine. Yeah, you're still good, but keep going, man. Like, do your thing. Like, woo, keep journeying. There needs to be a new relationship with these concepts because even cannabis gets me. Like, I've been smacked by so much sort of propaganda, and people regurgitating propaganda and these weird concepts and beliefs about it, but they've not experienced it. They don't have any experience. And if they did, okay, what did you do? Well, I had 12 pints and then I smoked a spliff, threw up, and fuck that. It's like, what do you expect, you moron? You just flooded your body with alcohol so it can't metabolize anything. And then you're giving it a substance that alters your psyche, it alters your brain and your body. And yeah, you can't metabolize that. You're going to throw up, you're going to feel shit. Have you smoked it, relaxed, sat there with a good, positive group of people with good food, like what we do, guys? And we make good food, we sit there, we talk about life, we get deep. And if you want, fucking play Smash Bros. Whatever we want to do, it's chill, it's relaxed. And there's so many other avenues we can go with it, but we've limited ourselves because of the mind. Again, all simplifications of the mind. What do we think about it? They're not even our faults, bro. They're someone else's.
Sorry, Stanley coming in. What are you saying?
Stanley.
How are you?
What's good? I'm lovely. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
It's sick to see you moving. Your movements. I'm seeing it. I know it's everything. Like the slick moves. I want to come down and train with you guys very soon.
Yeah, definitely should do it, man. Come out whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll come down to Horsham and train as well. Be well up for that.
I see that on the Bounty video that Horsham was the Cave's hometown, right?
Yeah. That's where they've grown up. So there's loads of sick spots there. So could definitely come down and do some training or something. That'd be sick.
Come and show me some spots.
Yeah, we'll do for sure.
This is a big thing. Yeah, we banged out an hour here.
We picked an hour, yeah. All right, sweet. Yeah, it's been sick. We should keep doing these. Like when more things happen, we should just come up on here and talk again. It's quite fun.
Well, it's a good segue actually, because I want this to be a place to just break and have these conversations. But there's a lot of people, bro. If you want, I'll send some links your way. But there's people really playing a massive role in history right now, standing up, recognizing our rights in common law. Like I'm going to throw out hot words that might be useful. It's like common law, syncretism, getting basically getting all this other information. I'll start connecting to ourselves, start checking out different people. There's a guy called Aaron Walton right now who's basically going through all the experiences that are going to help shift our understanding of what our rights are, and it's going to stop us from getting enslaved and being in prison right now. There's some real people in the front line that I'd love to have on top of anyone else, bro. Anyone else that's open, feels like they can hang, and they are on a level where they want to bring some light to the world and have more interesting conversations. Just have to do it.
Nice, yeah. Definitely send me some of these links, and I'll check these people out.
You'll dig that guy, bro.
Nice. Wait, say that again. What was his name?
I'll send it to you.
Perfect. Nice.
What are you saying? Like, what's going on in Josh's world right now? Like, close out with some links or something.
I'm trying to think. So we're working on like quite a lot of stuff. Some of the stuff I can't actually mention at the moment. There'll be a big announcement on December the 1st about something that we're working on, which is really cool. Like a cool avenue to go down for Storror. So interested to see where that goes. And yeah, just working on projects. Obviously the weather's been pretty bad at the moment, so we're not able to go out and film as much for videos, but whenever there's a dry day, we're going out and trying to try and get some ideas out. We've got a few things we're working on there, and trying to travel, I guess, as soon as possible, really, and kind of get out of the UK. I guess circumstances have been a bit funny, and a lot of stuff's going on, so it's like don't want to push it too hard. But I think we actually can travel because we're working together. So we've kind of almost found a bit of a loophole of how we can go to other countries, and the flights at the moment are looking really cheap. So I feel like we need to get out somewhere else really and go to some cool place and make some cool videos. Apart from that, yeah, just trying to keep up my like routine with stuff and doing a lot of Wim Hof, a lot of meditation, a lot of just like functional patterns as well, like this movement kind of new way of working out that I've been doing. Basically, I've been really trying to hone in on that and work on that, because a lot of the exercise I was doing in the gym before, like I didn't really notice them carrying over to my like physical ability or like my training, but like what I'm doing now is really kind of helping me in my movement with injuries, but also actually improving my movement as well. So yeah, it's really fucking cool. I can link that to you, and anyone's interested in checking it out can see it. So apart from that, all good really, just chilling, floating through.
Keep doing you, Bob. I know it's, all of us are feeling the same thing in our own way, but keep doing you. Like this is a big thing. Every time we have these meetings, there's some crazy shit going on, some crazy energy coming through.
For sure.
And the fact is, look at what you, like, especially, look, I'll commend you right now. What you boys have done this year has kept me fucking inspired, has kept me going, because making that commitment to videos every Monday is tough. And I know that even at the most difficult times when you've got that paid from YouTube, and that was taken from you.
Oh, yeah, demonetized, yeah.
What that forced you lot to do is in your characteristics, create better content anyway, do all this crazy stuff, do what you've just done with this bounty hunt. And you know me personally, Bob, I see and absorb everything. I'm an osmosis guy. So I'm seeing your movement, and I'm feeling all the functional shit and the chi and flow of energy and concentration. I see the difference, Bob. And when we break through this level, bro, I reckon you're going to start floating.
Just floating around. Jokes. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Anytime, man. I'm definitely up for continuing it. Like, let's do another one when the next kind of major shift happens, which it will be very shortly. We'll find out. Maybe after the presidential final maybe the inauguration of Joe Biden, we can then talk after then, see if there's been any major shifts or anything's happened. So yeah, it'd be sick.
I'm going to make one prediction before I go. 21st of December, right? Within a window of 10 days, 5 on each side, I reckon we're going to see the biggest, most catastrophic event in history. It's going to be in the form of some economy reset.
All right. Yeah, I've heard about the Great Reset. That seems pretty bait, to be honest. It seems like they're very much pushing.
Specifically, I'm not going to give it out here, but specifically, like if it goes to where the utility is and where most of the legwork is, there's a lot of wealth shift that's about to happen. Motherfuckers like me and you, younger fellas, and people that are understanding where their markets are going, which means we can start building. There'll be actually dealt a level playing field for resource to come in and do all this crazy shit we spoke about, brother, give back to the world and elevate everything that we already do. So I'm buzzing. I'll come down, brother. Put some food again. We're doing what we do.
Come on, yeah, do it.
Yeah, the little burger, man. I'll get it going.
Well, that was sick. All right, nice, man. Always good to speak to you, Charlie. See you again.
Good, man.
Thanks for having me. Peace.